She had spent her entire life trying to disappear into the crowd. Among thousands of cadets from dozens of star systems, she was just another student in the Galactic Defense Academy, another uniform in endless formations, another name buried in military records. Her instructors considered her competent but unremarkable. Her classmates rarely remembered she was even in the room. That anonymity suited her perfectly, until the day history landed on the Academy's central parade ground. The morning began with alarms that no cadet had ever heard before. Every lecture was canceled. Every combat simulation was suspended. Senior officers lined the observation towers in full ceremonial armor, while intelligence agents sealed every communication channel. Rumors spread faster than light itself. Some whispered that the Emperor had arrived. Others believed a new alien empire had declared war. Nobody imagined the truth. The Academy's skies darkened as an enormous vessel emerged from hyperspace without broadcasting a single identification code. It bore no recognizable galactic insignia. Instead, its hull was covered in scars, reinforced plating, and strange symbols written in an ancient language few could translate. Every sensor struggled to identify it. Finally, the central computer displayed a single classified designation that froze every commanding officer in place: Human Strategic Dropship. Silence swept across the Academy. Humanity had been part of the Galactic Alliance for decades, yet almost no one had ever seen one of their classified military vessels. Human diplomats smiled politely. Human scientists shared discoveries. Human merchants traded fairly. But rumors claimed that behind those peaceful faces existed fleets no ally had ever been allowed to inspect. If a classified human dropship had arrived, something extraordinary was happening. The massive craft descended with astonishing precision, touching the landing platform so gently that not a single stone cracked beneath its weight. Its engines shut down instantly. No dramatic music played. No grand ceremony followed. Instead, dozens of armored human soldiers emerged in perfect synchronization. Their black combat armor carried no rank markings, no medals, and no names. Every movement radiated absolute discipline. Even the Academy's elite instructors instinctively stepped backward. The cadets watched in complete fascination. These humans were unlike the friendly officers who occasionally lectured at the Academy. Their eyes never wandered. Their weapons remained lowered but ready. Every soldier constantly scanned rooftops, windows, and surrounding terrain with practiced efficiency. They looked less like an army and more like predators patiently evaluating an unfamiliar hunting ground. Then came the surprise that stunned everyone. The commanding human officer ignored the Academy's highest-ranking generals entirely. Instead, he walked directly toward the rear formation where forgotten cadets stood unnoticed. His gaze settled on one young woman whose uniform looked no different from anyone else's. She blinked in confusion as the officer stopped exactly one step in front of her. He raised his hand in a flawless military salute. Every instructor stared in disbelief. "Cadet Lyra," the officer said calmly, "your presence has been requested immediately under Directive Orion." She had never heard those words before. Neither had anyone else. The Academy commander hurried forward, demanding clarification. There must be some mistake. "This cadet has no strategic importance," the human officer finally turned his head. "There is no mistake." His voice remained perfectly calm. "The mistake was allowing you to believe she had none." Confusion exploded across the parade ground. Cadet Lyra herself looked terrified. She was the daughter of ordinary cargo pilots from a forgotten frontier colony. Her academic scores were respectable but far from exceptional. She had never won a major tournament or achieved remarkable distinctions. Nothing about her background explained why humanity's most secretive military unit had crossed half the galaxy just to retrieve her. The human officer produced a sealed data cylinder that even the Academy commander lacked authorization to open. As biometric verification completed, dozens of hidden satellites activated across the planet. Orbital defense platforms suddenly shifted into protective formation. Security drones surrounded the landing zone. Whatever information rested inside that cylinder carried consequences, reaching far beyond the Academy itself. The commander's expression changed as he read the first page, then the second. His face lost all color. He looked at Lyra as though seeing an entirely different person for the first time in his distinguished career. The academy commander slowly saluted one of his own cadets. The surrounding students exchanged nervous glances. Some believed she had secretly become royalty. Others suspected she was the heir to an influential corporation. None came remotely close to the truth. Classified records revealed that nearly 20 years earlier, a humanitarian evacuation convoy had rescued thousands of refugee children during a border conflict. Among those children was a nameless infant whose biological identity had remained unknown after her parents sacrificed themselves during the escape. What the Galactic Alliance never discovered was that the rescue convoy had been operated by Human Strategic Command, unknown to everyone. Humanity had quietly investigated every survivor from that mission. Billions of records had been analyzed. Genetic histories had been reconstructed. Ancient civilizations had been traced across forgotten sectors. Only weeks earlier, hidden archives uncovered evidence that one surviving child possessed an inheritance, unlike anything recorded in galactic history. That child was Lyra. She wasn't the heir to a throne. She wasn't descended from legendary warriors. She carried something infinitely more valuable. Her DNA contained the final complete biological key required to activate an ancient interstellar defense network built by the civilization that had once protected the galaxy from extinction. Every other genetic sequence necessary for activation had vanished thousands of years ago. Hers alone remained perfectly intact, preserved through countless generations. Without anyone realizing its significance, entire empires would wage wars to possess that key. Humanity had sworn decades earlier that if the final descendant were ever found, they would protect them at any cost. Not because the weapon belonged to humans, but because no single civilization should ever control power capable of deciding the fate of every inhabited world. The human officer finally addressed Lyra directly. "You have a choice." His words surprised everyone. "We were ordered to protect you. We were never ordered to command you. If you remain here, enemies already searching for your identity will eventually arrive. If you leave with us, your life will never be ordinary again, but it will always remain your own." For several silent moments, Lyra looked across the academy that had been her home. She saw classmates who had ignored her for years now watching with stunned expressions. She saw instructors questioning everything they believed they knew. Above them all stood the silent human soldiers, waiting without pressure, without threats, and without promises. They could not keep. She stepped forward. "I'll go." The officer nodded. Once no applause followed, no speeches celebrated the moment. The soldiers simply formed a protective escort around her as they walked toward the waiting dropship. The enormous ramp closed behind them, with a deep metallic echo that rolled across the academy grounds like the ending of one era and the beginning of another. As the classified human dropship lifted into the sky, every cadet believed they had witnessed the departure of an ordinary student. Years later, when history books recorded the day the galaxy survived its greatest war, they would all remember the same unforgettable truth. The future had not arrived wearing medals, crowns, or legendary titles. It had stood quietly in the last row of forgotten cadets, waiting for humanity to come and bring it home.